Welcome back, everybody, to Thoughts If It Were You, Food for Thought by Gentrics. Like I promised, we're going to go ahead and cover your learning to use your moral compass, the morality trait of goodness. It may sound like an old-fashioned term conjuring up images of you know, Jane Eyre or other historical heroines, but it is also the foundation of living well and ethically. Okay? The goodness acts as a compass, if you will. If Aristotle's virtues generally are a guide or a map for how to live, goodness is the compass that enables us to read the map the right way and work our way up and work out which way to actually go. So this brings up the question, what is right? Right is not used here to describe a predetermined course of action, but the ones that is correct for you in that it is consistent with both Aristotle's virtues and the description of a good life and your own personal values. Crucially, your moral compass points towards a life that will allow you to flourish as a human being and, hopefully, to have few regrets about the way that you have lived in the past. You have to work out where you stand. Perhaps the first steps to becoming more conscious of your own moral compass and moving towards living a good life is to think about what you don't do well. What is your kryptonite, as they say, when it comes to life? Okay? So let's go over a couple of questions. Are you inclined to hesitate over decisions? If you are, perhaps you spend too much time worrying about what is the right thing to do and not acting on your decisions. Or maybe you're inclined to act too quickly, without thinking through the consequences of your actions. Or, if it's not that, maybe you're inclined to be swayed or influenced by other people, rather, than making your own decisions. It is important to take into account what others think, but if that conflicts with what you think is right, or you are swayed by them, don't you think that there's a problem? Or maybe the last thing here. You're inclined to hold too firmly to your own views. Even when everyone else you know, including people whose opinion you value, thinks that you are wrong. Being right isn't always the right answer. Once you have identified your weaknesses, you can then start to think about how you might use your moral compass to overcome them. We're going to take a short break here, and then we're going to cover using your moral compass. Welcome back. Like I said, we're going to cover using your moral compass now. There are three main steps to using your moral compass to inform your decisions and your actions. First things first, gather information. The main question you should ask yourself before you act is, what do I need to know to make a better decision about what to do? Well, the answer to this question comes from your history and memories of past situations that were similar, enabling you to learn from your experience, both success and failure, your understanding of what needs to be done, and your values, and what you would need to do to act well, or how you could use the situation to improve yourself in some way. Together, these sources of information will help you to understand how you can apply what you already know to the situation. It is vital that you are honest with yourself about what you are and are not capable of, and the effects of your actions in the past, as you will either otherwise repeat previous mistakes, stuff that you probably don't want to do. As Einstein said, insanity is repeating the same behavior and expecting a different result. This process doesn't have to take long. In fact, it may be done in just a few minutes. It's the fact of going through the processes effectively that is important, not the time it takes. 2. Evaluate and consider the information that you have gathered. Now you need to make a judgment about the relative merits and values of all the information that you have gathered. You also need to consider what kind of action or response would fit your values and would have a good effort for both you and those around you. It's important to be open-minded in evaluation, and you may want to involve other people at this stage. It's a good thing to seek help with difficult decisions or when you don't know what to do. But do be aware that if you have a tendency to hesitate or delay decision making, you may be playing to your weaknesses instead of helping yourself. Third, decide and then do. This sounds very action focused, but you also need to include consideration of how you act boldly, carefully, gently, firmly, you get the idea, so on. Consider the effects of your actions on yourself and others. Crucially, the action that you take should express the way that you hope or wish to be. If you have a tendency to hesitate, then concentrate on deciding and then acting swiftly. Understand that you can't know everything and everyone, and there will always be an element of risk in any decision. Sometimes the fact of the decision is more important than its content. Equally, if you have a tendency to rush blindly in and then take a moment to pause and then consider the likely effects of your actions, including the risks for you and others. Welcome back. Last thing I want to cover, and this is a short segment here for this last half of this podcast, living well. At the end of the day, being good or living well is all about balance. Balance between reason and emotion, and between your needs and those of others, and between pragmatism and the perfect solution. You will have a reasonable chance of achieving this balance if you say that you know what you ought to do in the situation, drawing on your experience how to do it and what effect it will have on both you and others, rationally and emotionally. Well, that only leaves one question left. Is whether you can see a way in which you can do this that is consistent with your values. Remember, you need to keep your values consistent, focus on the task at hand that you're aiming for. Once again, gather the information that you need, and build on it. Learn from past mistakes, but don't let them repeat themselves. Again, I want to thank you for listening to my podcast. This is Food for Thought, Thoughts If It Were You, by Gentrics. And remember, always consider the other person and your actions and the way they affect other people. Enjoy the rest of your day.